Were you concerned when you saw the testimony last week from your officials that indicated that no one person read the contract front to back before that was signed?
I'm asking you questions, not the other way around.
I'm asking you questions. Goes both ways.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
actually.
It does.
Not at committee.
This morning, this is parliament. This is part of parliamentary committee. This is democracy.
I'm just asking you why you did that.
But Jacob,
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
We have with us today the Honourable Mélanie Joly, Minister of Industry, and from the Department of Industry, we have Francis Bilodeau, Associate Deputy Minister, Innovation, Science and Economic Development. Welcome. And Kendall Hembroff, Associate Assistant Deputy Minister of the Industry Sector.
You mentioned Stellantis, so I might as well start there with the auto sector. Were you concerned when you saw the testimony last week from your officials that indicated that no one person read the contract front to back before that was signed?
well, first and foremost, I think we have to put things in context. If you look actually at what was discussed and what my deputy minister at the time said, is that he was not involved in the redaction of the contract, nor was I, of course, because we were not in our positions at the time. As you know, the contract was signed some years ago, and you were not in your position neither. Now, what is clear is we both since then read the contract, and of course I can answer any questions about that.
When was it that you read the contract?
Well, when the issue...
Was it last week? Was it 2 years ago?
Obviously,
it wasn't 2 years ago because you weren't there, but when did you read it?
So when the issue of Stellantis became really important, which was around October 15...
So you read it?
Of course I read that contract because we got a 24 hours heads up from the global CEO saying that they were moving the Brampton Jeep model, well, the Jeep Compass model,
right,
to the U.S. And we thought that that was completely unacceptable. So we got to it and we found very quickly how to make sure that Stellantis was on the hook.
The testimony last week was that during the contract negotiations, no single person had a view on that contract cover to cover. Does that concern you?
To be frank, it doesn't.
Well, that was the...
No, but like, you can't negotiate a contract without reading it. That doesn't make sense. Like, just listen to what you're saying.
I don't know. The deputy minister said that the individuals involved would not have had full view of the contract. That was the testimony.
There were many contracts that were involved, all of those that are already, not only are they available right now, Adam, but they were available 2 years ago, and the opposition, so basically the Conservative Party, had access to it. And you guys also read the contract.
I think they're just getting
so there's nothing new here.
That's okay. So now that you've read the contract, that's fine. You've read the contract. Were you concerned that the jobs guarantee in that contract, or are you satisfied with the jobs guarantee in the contract? Is it anything less than 100% of Stellantis' footprint at the contract was signed?
See, you know what was my reaction when we got the news from Stellantis? My reaction was, we can't open that floodgate of basically our automakers leaving the country. That was my reaction. And my reaction was also to make sure that everybody around this table is one Team Canada, because we're all fighting for the 125,000 jobs in the auto sector. And so I was in fighting mode, and I was finding how to make sure that we would make Stellantis on the hook. What was clear in that contract is that the investments in the battery plants, which are super important, which we stand for and will continue to defend, were linked to the Brampton facility.
Okay.
And that's why we say it's on the hook.
On October 21st, you said in the House, the opposition on the committee will have access to the contracts. They will discover that we indeed negotiated well. Do you recall saying that?
And I stand by it.
Okay. The jobs guarantee in the contract, is it for anything less than 100% of Stellantis' footprint at the time the contracts were signed?
See, what is happening is when you're dealing with an automaker, you know that there will be...
Minister, you're negotiating a contract.
Wait. I didn't negotiate the contract, but what I can tell you is that when you look at an automaker over a 10, 15-year period, you know that there will be changes in models. And sometimes during that time, that, lifespan, there will be time where basically there's retooling and that basically people are put on pause to then, of course, being rehired. And that is all negotiated with Unifor. That is all negotiated with the unions. And so that is why it was really, really important to have a job number. But what was most important, Adam, and that's my last point, it was to link the protection of Brampton, because there was a preoccupation at the time, and I wasn't there, you weren't there, but there was a preoccupation to make sure that we would protect the jobs at Brampton.
Is the jobs guarantee in the contract for less than 100% of Stellantis' footprint at the time the contracts were signed?
Listen, what I can tell you is that there's a job guarantee, and what I can tell you also
there
is that
a job guarantee, but it's for less than 100%.
For once, there was a link between the new funding that was given to create new jobs in Windsor to the Brampton plant.
So for anything
and
less...
that was really, really important, because when you look at it, and we learned from 2009 what the Conservatives did at the time. At the time, there was no job guarantee. So we made sure that that was the case.
Are there executive compensation restrictions like there were in 2009? Was there equity given to the government like there was in 2009? I'm sorry, Minister, but you can't compare those. And plus, that was 15 years ago.
Well, no, I think that they were in
15 years ago.
You are comparing
and you've negotiated,
the same
your
type of really
Mr. Chair, the translation is not good because we have
Minister,
two persons in the
your
same
government
time.
negotiated. It sounds like your government negotiated a $15 billion corporate subsidy to Stellantis without 100% jobs guarantee for the footprint of Stellantis at that time.
I think you're mixing up things.
That's what it sounds like.
To be frank, you're mixing up things, okay?
Feel it in your words, in the way that you speak about how you're protecting workers. I feel it. Mm-hmm. And you started your remarks by talking about how important it is to be Team Canada, to be united. And I hear this everywhere. I hear it in my community. They'll speak, you know what? This is what I'll hear. I like when the Liberals and the Conservatives, NDP, Green Party, everybody working together, understanding how big a threat this is. People know that, and they want to see everybody working together, and that is imperative. That is probably the best tool. We could talk about Buy Canadian, the Strategic Response Fund, our diversification, but the number one thing we have is keeping Canadians united as Team Canada, understanding this. And thank you for doing the job that you're doing on that. And that's my question, is that you go to the front lines. You were talking about, meeting with Unifor, Lana Payne, bringing in, the CEOs, having everybody at the table, understanding that we got to get to the right solution, the right deal. Can you tell me how you work through that process, how you meet with the front lines, how you get that message across?
So different ways. I must say, my department is very much in solution mode, because we get so many companies coming to see us, businesses, entrepreneurs, wanted either to get help because they're in the tariff sector, the sectors that are impacted by the tariffs, or want to adapt and pivot and or invest. The difference is quite stark, because we're the only country right now of the G7 that has zero tariff overall on our economy. I was just in Japan and Korea. They both have 15% tariffs. We know that that's the case for the EU. We know that, UK is 10%. And so on certain sectors, things are going well, actually, and our plan is working. And I just mentioned 67,000 jobs created in October, 60,000 the month before in September. But in the sectors that are impacted by the tariffs, the pain is real. And so we provide the information to the negotiating team with what are the impacts of the tariffs, what are our, basically our different sectors that are under us, which are, many, many different sectors, except from basically natural resources and energy. And that's how the Prime Minister and Dominic LeBlanc, Minister LeBlanc, and the clerk and the chief of staff, also of the Prime Minister, are able, and Kirsten Hellman, our ambassador to the U.S., are able to negotiate. So a lot of the information actually provides, it's basically market information that we have that is provided.
Minister, in your opening statement, you referred to steel, lumber, and other critical sectors. So steel, aluminum, autos, lumber. My understanding is that those tariffs that are imposed by the U.S. are done so under the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232, and then in the case of lumber, additionally anti-dumping and countervailing duties. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Well, yeah, it's a fact. There's also a presidential, an executive order for fentanyl-related tariffs under the IEEPA.
And those would be the IEEPA tariffs.
Exactly, but they're on pause.
Right. And so you're following the court case in the United States, Voss Selections, which is dealing with the IEEPA tariffs?
I am, but as MP, like you, because I'm not in charge of the negotiation.
So my understanding, and I hope this is yours as well, as we've just established, if the Supreme Court in the United States strikes down the IEEPA tariff, that will provide no relief to the industries I just mentioned. Is that correct? Because those tariffs are imposed under different laws in the U.S.
My job here is not to make any form of hypothesis, neither...
It's not a hypothesis, it's just fact, and your job here is to speak on behalf of these industries, so I just want to know, what's your understanding of that? And if you don't know, that's problematic, so...
Jacob,
yes
please,
or no?
Can you...
Give the minister time to answer the
Yeah.
question, please.
So...
If she answers, yeah.
I always answer.
Respond.
I think that there's a lot of, as I said in French, many unpredictability linked to this administration. The U.S. Supreme Court decision is obviously something that the negotiating team is following, and I must say, the entire world is following.
So you don't know what effect that will have.
Obviously, I won't, in front of this committee, develop any form of strategy or tactics that the government could take. I think that overall, we should work as one Team Canada to see what could be the impacts eventually. But I'm not here to make any form of, analysis on what could be the impact on Canada or the world.
I guess I would suggest it's concerning that the industry minister has no analysis of what will happen if that's the case.
I'm sorry, but...
Then tell me what your view is then.
My job is to help the sectors here in Canada while the negotiating team is negotiating, and they have also their own strategies. And obviously the world is following what's going on in the U.S. every single day. We were following what was going on in Tennessee yesterday. We're following what's going on in Miami at the electoral. So we have a team, and I'm talking here, I used to be in charge of foreign affairs, so I know that we have a fantastic embassy in the U.S.
Thank you,
and
Minister.
They're doing that.
I'm going to move on because I have limited time. I appreciate that. Obviously, a large part of our bilateral trade is defense production with the United States. A few weeks ago, in response to questions about the F-35, you made comments that you said you didn't believe there had been enough jobs created or industrial benefits out of the F-35 program. You repeated that yesterday, actually. And then in response, Ambassador Hoekstra made some comments suggesting that was an impediment to our trade negotiations. You were, as you said, were foreign minister. You were at the very first party at Mar-a-Lago with the president. If anyone should have known that injecting uncertainty into the F-35 deal would piss off the Americans, I would have thought it was you. So my question is, why would you do that at the 11th hour? Why inject uncertainty into this negotiation?
A couple of things. I was not there at the first party at Mar-a-Lago, so your facts are wrong. Second, we took a decision following the imposition of tariffs against us, which I think Canadians support. My question to you is, do you support or not the decision of putting on pause the F-35 contract? Yes or no?
I'm asking you questions, not the other way around.
I'm asking you questions. It goes both ways.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
actually.
It does.
Not at committee.
This is part of parliamentary committee. This is democracy.
I'm just asking you why you did that.
But Jacob, yes or no? Is that the position of the Conservative Party? Yes or no?
At the Defense Committee this morning, the Minister of National Defense said the F-35 review was his file, and he said he was reviewing it, quote, at the request of the Prime Minister. Did the Prime Minister ask you to review that as well?
I'm in charge of industrial benefits for defense contract. That's the role of industry.
You are reviewing the F-35 as well?
For industrial benefits, of course. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I think we didn't get enough and we need more. And I hope the Conservative Party is in favor of that. If not, we want to know.